Hello everyone, this is Daniel, and I'm going to be making a preaching topic about the actual calculation and math behind human psychology and how they're taught by other parents and all their peers. This is the formula to the fruit of the Spirit, and it's all equals. The fruit of the Spirit depends on, basically what you saw. So basically, I just showed you the end, but here's the formula for the fruit of the Spirit. This is how you teach people, this is how you act. So this is what is going on here. So one person, that's 1 times P times A times all infinity equals, and basically E equals all equals all infinity, so it's all everything equals opposite action over same action equals function of opposite of all times infinity times same action over opposite action times infinity. Basically, all those are exponents. So basically, the infinity, all of them are exponential, like squared or it's like to the infinity. So all of that is all to the infinity. So this is still part 1. So which equals hate to do over love to do, which means same action means hate to do, and opposite action equals love to do, equals function, and hate to do and love to do is to the infinity, plus function all plus infinity. This is basically which means nothing, but really it's added which adds the infinite value to the exponent, which makes sense in some cases, but in other cases it does make sense. So these are just formulas or functions of what it is. Then this all equals. This is part 2. One preaching times action to the infinity equals same action to the infinity plus opposite action to the infinity equals same action equals hate. Opposite same action to the infinity equals hate. Opposite action to the infinity equals love to do, or hate to do is So this is part 3. Which equals one person preaching to or action to the infinity equals which can equal opposite action to the infinity equals love to do to the infinity, or one what was P? Yeah, preaching. One preaching action to the infinity can equal same action infinity times, which equals hating action to the infinity. I accidentally didn't do the equal sign there. Anyway, and that equals the fruit of the Spirit depends on one person preaching or acting times infinity. Okay. That was a complex moment of, generally the most complex formula that is out there. I know that a lot of you are thinking, what is he thinking about? What kind of math is this? And I did write to you, or I will write to you, in my YouTube video that this is an extremely high-functioning No, high functioning. This is like an extremely complex formula. God's most complex formula for the fruit of the Spirit. And that, by the way, describes the fruit of the Spirit. So what is the fruit of the Spirit? What did I mean by all that? Basically, in simpler terms, much simpler terms, how you preach to the person may become the opposite of what you want it to be. Because what you preach that you think, oh, this is a positive thing, that's going to make them happy. What makes the person happy, usually in many cases, in many cases, makes a person more hateful, more, selfish, puts hate in person. So what you think is making the person happy is putting selfishness in the person and making the person more crazy, which in many cases, many preachers are preaching the good news and happy news, everything good. But that's just driving the world to the ground. That's just driving the whole world absolutely nuts. So, and the opposite is true. I mean, sometimes the opposite are the preaching. If they don't like what you preach, it can mean that they will reject it. But in some terms, when they don't like it, or they become upset and then they cry, that's when they change. That person becomes a person of the Spirit, and the flesh does not like that. So anything the flesh does not like, that flesh will become, literally, the flesh. Anything that the flesh does not like, basically that means that you'll become that thing that the flesh does not like, because you said it to the person. So basically, you become what you preach, but in some reality, it's become like it's the opposite of what you become you preach. So in world term, you become what you preach, but in God's term, you just become, you just become what how to describe it? Like what you preach is what everyone should become, or as in, how do I describe it? Like, a very complex formula, I know. But basically, the same can be true as saying all the things that you preach and everyone hates it, they become the opposite and they start to like it. But really, it corrects them. Anything that corrects a person, they hate it, right? That's what the flesh hates. But you gotta love the correction. Doesn't mean you gotta be happy for it. But you gotta be happy that someone gave you correction, because the wise love correction. Because they know they will become much better. The wise are very wise in that sort of way, because they know that type of correction will literally change their hearts, and they are glad to see that correction come, because they know they will be, gladly accepted by God because of that correction. But then the foolish say, "Oh, I hate correction." You can either be only wise or foolish. I know Isaac Newton said certain sayings about the church, or the Catholic Church. And by the way, Isaac Newton invented physics and calculus. He only wanted to see the shapes of things, or how things move. That's what he was good at. Then there was something. It's over the name. Albert Einstein. Then there was Albert Einstein, and he loved formulas. All he could think of were formulas. What was the formula for this? What was the formula for that? And he invented other formulas like E equals mc squared and all that. He had some formulas to calculus, so yeah. And then there was a man that invented topology, because he found that some formulas for shapes were off, and that he wanted 3D. So he invented 3D of basically the whole volume of 3D because of topology. And he was a genius because he only thought of it in that kind of term. But for me, it's just the actual psychology of what men think, and just the psychology of actually what, you know. Psychology is basically a formula. I can only think of a formula to psychology. What you just saw there was a really really hard formula to psychology, because everything has a formula. Butterfly, how they fly, has a formula. Volume of the bed has a formula. Even the length of time has a formula. The only thing that does not have a formula is basic math. And by the way, God has basic math. God has his basic math with elementary math, and he means that by symbolically elementary. When he means it spiritually, it is so complex that man can barely utter that. Then then he has formulas for people for the fruit of the spirit. That anything that is algebraic, or anything like that, calculus like, man can even barely think of that kind of stuff. It would be so hard for man that they would have a headache over it. And man can barely think of that kind of stuff, and they can't even come up with that kind of idea. So yeah, I mean, God is more than a creator, or just a creator. He's a king, all-powerful, and he has all the wisdom they can imagine. And he is not bound by time, not bound by anything. And he is holy and perfect. And he is the light. He is everything good. He is a treasure. He is rich. He is everything, guys. So, if you're wondering what his formula is, just for his way of the fruit of the Spirit, that is it. Let me show you it again. It is, let me show you again that fruit of the Spirit. Because is one person's action times all times opposite action is what times that on formula of everything else, all the opposites times that equals what is that? Hate over love over formula for everything. All that's to the infinite exponent equals one person's action, or preaching, or what I should say, equals same plus opposite equals same action equals hate, and opposite action equals love to do or hate to do, and that is all to the infinite x. That's all to an infinite. And then that equals one person's action can either mean the opposite, which equals love, or one person's action can equal this same action, which equals same action, which means they become no. Basically, yeah. Same action, which equals the hate to do, and the fruit of the Spirit depends on what one person's action. Yeah. I can mean it different by hate and love by action, Basically, one person's preaching can literally mean the opposite, and then, yeah, I'm trying to think about this. Same action, yeah, they can act the same as the person preach, or they can actually have the same sort of action, but it's what they hate to do. So, yeah, if it's the same action, it's what they hate to do. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of complex, but if the person's preaching is, if the person, loves to preach and it's pretty much the same action, anything that they can't stand in that person, they. I did the opposite. If the person can't stand what they preach, they become what they hate, or yeah. I mean, I switched them, but you understand. But still, it takes a lot of understanding just to figure this out. I mean, you become what you hate sometimes, and basically the least will become the greatest, and the greatest will become the least. That's what God said. And also, Solomon did say, in his own terms, the wise love correction, the foolish do not. So listen to these people, okay? Alright, I'll be done now, okay? Bye.